live from the drama-free true crime destination. It's your Wednesday check-in with truth, talk, and the stories that won't let go. This is the Midweek Bite. And what's good, everybody? Welcome to a Wednesday here at the drama-free true crime destination. I'm Ernest Bethea, the last outlaw. This is the Midweek Bite here at Bethea'S Byte Reloaded, and we've got a lot to get to. First of all, if you're seeing my logo on your screen, my apologies. My cam is acting up. I'm trying to get that situation worked out, and so far nothing's happening, so I'm just going to go ahead and keep things as is. So, bearing this in mind, we're going to get right to our missing persons report, and this is a huge one here. All right. What you see before you right now is 6 missing individuals that were reported missing on August 6th, 2023. Let me give you the details on all 6 of those individuals. The FBI St. Louis Field Office and the Berkeley Police Department in Missouri are seeking the public's assistance in locating Michaela Denise Wickerson, her daughter Malia Wickerson, Michaela Thompson, Jeriel German, her son Ashton Mitchell, and Naaman Williams. Both of the children were 3 years old at the time the group went missing. The 4 adults are unrelated and were living with the children in a rental home in Berkeley, Missouri. The group was last seen on August 6, 2023 at a Quality Inn hotel at 55 Dunwood in nearby Florissant, Missouri. Berkeley, Missouri Police Department conducted a welfare check at the rental home on August 12, 2023. They found no indication of a forced entry into the home, but there were signs that the occupants left unexpectedly. The missing individuals are described as follows. Michaela Wickerson was born February 17, 1998. Now, keep in mind all these birth dates you hear. Those are the actual birth dates, 1 and 2. This is all the information we have. Malia Wickerson, born October 8, 2020. Michaela Thompson, aka Antu Anum Amat. She's from St. Louis, and she was born July 4th, 1999. Jeriel German is from Mississippi, born July 24th, 1996. Ashton Mitchell is from Mississippi, born June 12th of 2020. And Naaman Williams is from Washington, D.C., born November 20th, 1994. If you have any information on any of these 6 individuals, you are asked to contact your local FBI office or submit your tip online at tips.fbi.gov. tips.fbi.gov. But whatever you do is you see the address on your screen now. Submit your tip online at tips.fbi.com. Whatever you do not hesitate in submitting this information. We try to bring these 6 people back home, bring them back home safe. So remember, as always, if you see something, please say something. That way we can do something. Alright. So now we got that out of the way. Let's go ahead and get down to the business at hand. We're going to start off with a sentencing. Lawrence Daugherty sentenced for the murder of former NBA player Adrian Payne. Alright. Lawrence Daugherty was sentenced to life in prison on last Thursday for the second-degree murder of former NBA player Adrian Payne. Judge Greg Tynan imposed a life sentence with a 25-year mandatory minimum following an emotional hearing that featured tearful pleas from both families affected by the May 9, 2022 shooting outside Doherty's Orlando townhome. Payne, a 6'10" former Michigan State star who played for the Orlando Magic and Atlanta Hawks, was shot and killed in the early morning hours of after what prosecutors said was an escalating dispute. Doherty claimed self-defense, saying Payne threatened him with the words, "I'll smoke you, bruh," and that he believed Payne was armed. However, witnesses testified that Payne was unarmed and not threatening. Surveillance footage showed Doherty approaching Payne's vehicle, retrieving a gun from his home, and firing a single fatal shot. The jury rejected Doherty's self-defense argument in July, convicting him of second-degree murder after a 2-day trial. His motion for immunity under Florida's Stand Your Ground law was also denied. During last Friday's sentencing hearing, Doherty's supporters filled the courtroom with his fiancée, Tatiana Mesa, leading a parade of character witnesses who portrayed him as a devoted father and community pillar. Doherty's 13-year-old son took the stand, describing his father as his mentor and coach before breaking down in tears. The boy's emotional testimony came just 2 days before his 14th birthday. Doherty's mother, Demetria Doherty, struggled to maintain composure as she defended her son. "I know he would never do anything out of maliciousness," he said. "I know his heart. I know he loves hard. He was in fear of his life." Payne's family also addressed the court. His brother Antoine Payne spoke on behalf of Payne's children, including a son born after his death who will never meet his father. Tara Walker, Payne's girlfriend and mother of his child, held up photos of their son while addressing Doherty directly. In his own statement, Doherty broke down while expressing remorse and asking for mercy. The 31-year-old father of 3 maintained his innocence while acknowledging the tragedy. "I did not go out that night looking for trouble, but trouble found me," Doherty said. "I am deeply remorseful. I did not wake up that day wanting to kill someone. I had no intention of harming anyone, especially another father." Doherty promised he would never do anything negative again and asked the court to consider his background and the facts of the case. Defense attorney Harold Thompson had asked for the 25-year mandatory minimum, arguing that Doherty was a loving father with no history of violence who made a tragic mistake. Prosecutor Michael Smith countered that Doherty took something away that can never be brought back and recommended life in prison. Judge Tynan ultimately sided with the prosecution, imposing a life sentence. Now, I don't know about anybody else, but if you're going to confront somebody and the last thing you think of is to go back in the house and reach for a gun to take care of matters, that means you use up every last bit of patience, resourcefulness, words, and of course, your temperament. All that put together, I agree with the judge in sentencing him to life. Take a life. You deserve to do a lifetime behind bars until you die. That's justice, folks. Pure and simple. Checking. No. Okay. I'm just gonna go ahead and keep doing this without the cam. We have an update on Alicia Andrews and her seeking bond while awaiting trial for the murder of rapper Julio Fulio. Now keep in mind, I do not know who he is. I never heard of him. In Tampa, a Florida woman facing trial on charges of she murdered a rising rap star was denied bond on last Friday, even after testimony revealed details about domestic violence and gang dynamics, despite a judge's recent ruling that such evidence cannot be used at her upcoming trial. Alicia Andrews is charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder in the death of rapper Charles Jones, who was known as Julio Fulio. The Jacksonville rapper was shot and killed on June 23, 2024, in what prosecutors have described as an ongoing rival gang war. Andrews was previously dealt a setback when Judge Michelle Cisco ruled her attorneys wouldn't be allowed to introduce evidence of domestic violence at her trial. Excuse me. Under Florida law, defendants charged with premeditated first-degree murder are not eligible to use duress as a defense, making any alleged domestic violence irrelevant to the murder case. However, during Friday's bond hearing, Andrews' defense presented testimony aimed at showing she was a victim of domestic violence by her boyfriend and co-defendant, Isaiah Chance, and that the circumstances surrounding the case have changed since her initial detention. Andrews' best friend testified that Andrews sent her photos and text messages showing injuries from alleged abuse by Chance. In one February 2024 text message read in court, Andrews wrote that Chance, quote, almost killed me, end quote. A March 2024 exchange between Robinson and Chance was also presented, in which Chance said they were both wrong. Andrews' mother, testifying by phone, confirmed her daughter lived at home and worked multiple jobs, including at Amazon, as a substitute teacher for special needs children and providing facial care services. She said she was unaware of any gang affiliations and would be able to monitor Andrews if she were released. Sorry about that yawn, guys. She wouldn't hurt a fly, said Andrews' father, also testifying by phone. Excuse me. Alicia has never been in trouble, never harmed anyone, never been in trouble. She's not a violent person. The hearing also revealed new details about gang dynamics. A Jacksonville Sheriff's Office detective testified about a fallout between Chance and the ATK gang in November 2023. Prosecutors argued that the new information doesn't meet the legal standards for reconsideration of pretrial detention, saying the domestic violence allegations and gang dynamics were known at the time of the original hearing. Andrews is charged with Jones's murder along with Chance and 3 other men. While prosecutors concede that Andrews is not in a gang, they say her 4 co-defendants are. Prosecutors say phone records show that that Andrews traveled with her co-defendants to Tampa, where they surveilled and tracked the victim to 3 locations before killing him. Andrews, who has pleaded not guilty, originally scheduled to stand trial in August. However, proceedings were delayed until October due to illness. So, Alicia Andrews is in more trouble than she realizes. And on top of that, the evidence she wants to use, the domestic violence and all that, plus the gang affiliation, that's not gonna help her in court now. Now that those has been denied by the judge. And to whoever's in the chat, welcome. I'm sorry I'm not on cam. My cam isn't working for some odd reason, but this is still the midweek bite here at Bethea'S Byte Reloaded. I'm happy to have you here. Next up, a story I didn't think I would end up reporting on, but here we go. The wife of actor Scott Wolf is charged with harassment after posting her phone number online. Summit County, Utah. Scott Wolf's wife is facing criminal charges after authorities say she shared the actor's phone number on her Instagram account, leading to a barrage of unwanted calls and messages. Kelly Wolf, who formerly appeared on The Real World, was charged with following an incident on August 26, 2025, when deputies responded to a harassment report at Scott's home. Scott Wolf, known for his roles in TV shows such as Party of Five and The Night Shift, and Kelly are separated. While deputies were at the scene at 7:22 p.m., Scott received a call from his wife and answered it on speakerphone in front of the officer. After saying hello multiple times with no response, he hung up the phone. Shortly after the call, Scott started receiving a barrage of phone calls and text messages from unknown people. Some calls showed phone numbers while others displayed names, but all were unknown to him. Deputies discovered that Kelly had posted on her Instagram account, which has approximately 80,000 followers. The post read in part, "Let's Dimples field his own press," and directed all press inquiries to Scott's personal phone number. Scott said Dimples was a known reference to him. He received approximately 24 calls and multiple text messages within the first 10 minutes after the post went live. Deputies then traveled to Kelly's residence in Peoria. When officers arrived, Kelly Wolf refused to open the front door and instead talked to the officer through a window. According to a report reviewed by Court TV, officers stated that she refused to respond to their questions. Deputies advised her they had probable cause to arrest her for harassment and asked her to come outside. According to the report, officers waited on the porch for over an hour while she changed clothes, as she had been wearing a bathrobe during their conversation through the window. Now, even I know a lot of that on Kelly's part was uncalled for. If you're separated, you're about to head for divorce court, get yourself prepared. But it doesn't. You don't need to go and be all petty as that. I'm sorry, but if I side with anyone out of these two, it would likely be Scott Wolf. Next up, the Memphis ex-police officers who are convicted in the Tyree Nichols beating death are set to get a new trial. Which ones? Let's find out. Memphis, Tennessee. A judge ordered a new trial on last Thursday for 3 of the former Memphis police officers who were convicted of federal charges in the fatal beating of Tyree Nichols, after defense lawyers argued that another judge who presided over their trial was biased in his belief that at least one of the men was in a gang. U.S. District Judge Cheryl H. Lippman issued the order for a new trial for Tadarius Bean on the top left, Demetrius Haley in the middle, and Justin Smith on the bottom row. Bean, Haley, Smith. All 3 of them were found guilty in October 2024 of obstruction of justice through witness tampering. The ruling marks the latest setback for prosecutors in a case that shocked the country when videos were released showing officers violently kicking and punching Nichols during a traffic stop. The officers who have been granted a new trial in the federal case were acquitted of state murder charges in May. Last year, federal prosecutors were unable to secure convictions on the most severe counts against Bean and Smith. 2 other officers, Emmett Martin and Desmond Mills Jr., pleaded guilty before the federal trial. Lippman took over the case in June after U.S. District Judge Mark S. Norris, who presided over the case and the trial, recused himself days before the sentencings for the 5 officers. In a statement shared by his judicial office Thursday, Norris said, "Because of the Code of Judicial Conduct, I cannot make a statement on this matter." The new trial being granted is based on the judge's comments. In her order, Lippman cited a notice filed by the U.S. Attorney's Office saying Norris expressed a theory that at least one of the officers was in a gang. The notice discussed an incident in which Norris's law clerk was shot during a car theft days after the trial ended. The clerk was staying at the home of another law clerk who had previously worked for Norris on the Nichols case, it said. The notice also said police investigators believe some juveniles committed the shooting, that Norris wanted those responsible to be held accountable, and that he evidenced reasonable frustration with the police investigation. Norris met with the U.S. Attorney's Office and an FBI agent who explained why no federal charges would be brought in the clerk's shooting. Norris indicated that he believed at least one of the former officers was in a gang and that it was responsible for the shooting. The notice said it was also said the U.S. attorney stated that Norris told those present that the clerk had been seen by one or more of the defendants during the trial. An assistant U.S. attorney who attended the May 30th meeting also said she remembered that Norris told her that he could not meet with police to give a statement because the department was infiltrated to the top with gang members, the notice said. Okay, stopping right there before I continue on. And to a degree, I agree with the judge, because those officers who beat Tyree Nichols to death, they are part of the gang. They are part of the gang. And apparently, it's likely one of the biggest gangs in the state of Tennessee. The Memphis Police Department. Allegations of bias. Bean, Haley, and Smith filed motions seeking a new trial, arguing that Norris was biased and violated their rights to due process by presiding over the case. Smith's lawyer said there was no suggestion or one hint in the federal discovery process or the federal trial that any defendant or any member of the Memphis Police Department was in any way affiliated with an illegal street gang, either through membership or relationship. Haley's lawyer wrote that Judge Norris made the gang statements on at least 2 occasions, demonstrating that it is a firmly held belief, not an offhand remark. Lippman also unsealed several filings made before and after Norris recused himself. In one of them, federal prosecutors argued that there was no evidence that he harbored any bias before or during the trial, let alone the type of extreme bias that would warrant the extraordinary remedy of a new trial. Okay. Lippman found that while a review showed Norris's decisions throughout the trial were sound, fair, and grounded firmly in the law, a new trial is necessary because of the risk of bias here is too high to be constitutionally tolerable. A date for the retrial has not been set. Lippman ordered lawyers to submit positions on what charges they believe need to be tried. Smith's attorney, Martin Zumak, said Lippman did the right thing. Bean's lawyer declined to comment, and Haley's attorney did not immediately respond to a request. Memphis police also declined to comment. Now, if you remember, the original trial ended with a mixed verdict in 2024. Bean, Haley, and Smith were found guilty of trying to cover up the beating by failing to say that they or their colleagues punched and kicked Nichols and broke a piece of department rules when they did not include complete and accurate statements about what type of force they used. Bean and Smith were acquitted of more serious civil rights charges, however. Haley was found guilty of violating Nichols' civil rights and causing body again. Alright, let's see. Haley was found guilty of violating Nichols' civil rights by causing bodily injury and showing deliberate indifference to medical needs, and also conspiracy to tamper with witnesses. Bean, Haley, and Smith were acquitted in May of all state charges, including second-degree murder. Haley is in federal custody, but Bean and Smith are on limited release. Martin and Mills also pleaded guilty in federal court last year to violating Nichols' civil rights by causing death and conspiracy to witness tamper. They did not stand trial in federal court with their former colleagues. Martin and Mills also avoided a state court trial after reaching agreements to plead guilty. The officers were part of a crime suppression team called the Scorpion Unit that was disbanded weeks after Nichols died. The team targeted illegal drugs, guns, and violent offenders, and it the officers were part of a crime suppression team known as the Scorpion Unit and was disbanded weeks after Nichols died. The team targeted illegal drugs, guns, and violent offenders, and it sometimes used force against unarmed people. So for Tyree Nichols, just when you think justice is served, it's more of a delay. But remember what I've always said: justice delayed is never justice denied. All right. New reports is detailing the abuse injuries of 10-year-old Rebecca Baptiste, who was found on the Arizona highway, dead. All right, let's go to Apache County, Arizona. It's been 1 month since Rebecca Baptiste was found at an intersection in Holbrook, Arizona, unresponsive and severely injured. Newly obtained court documents and police reports detail more interactions with the Baptiste family in the months leading up to the family's move from the valley to rural Apache County. Rebecca's dad, Richard Baptiste, and his girlfriend, Anicia Woods, are both charged with murder and child abuse. Court documents also show that the Apache County Attorney's Office hopes to join their cases as they move through the court system. Regarding joining the cases, prosecutors have previously said in court that they believe Baptiste and Woods are equally culpable. They are hoping to join the two cases together. Prosecutors have recently said in court that they believe Baptiste and Woods are equally culpable. They are hoping to join the two cases based on the overlapping evidence and similar conduct. The conduct led to the charges are all of the same or similar conduct and are connected together in their commission and are all part of a common scheme or plan. Prosecutors wrote this in a new court filing reviewed by Scripps News Phoenix. Prosecutors also wrote that the couple is now facing charges regarding not only Rebecca, but also the abuse of her two siblings. Interesting. Alright. Baptiste and Woods told police that the 10-year-old had run away and was eventually found by neighbors. But doctors at a Winslow police department apparently said they didn't believe the young girl was physically capable of running away. The documents also provide insight into what Rebecca and her siblings allegedly told school administrators and other adults before the family moved to a remote area of Apache County. They would make allegations and have markings on them that were evident that aligned with the allegations that they made. And then they would reenact them, recant the stories the next day, excuse me. And let's see. That last statement was by Natalina Mariscal, the director of Student Social Services for Empower College Prep. Empower told Scripps News Phoenix that Rebecca and her two siblings attended the Valley School. The court documents stated that the Baptiste kids reported injuries such as scratches, a hurt toe, and various forms of punishment, including planks and running laps with little to no water. Prosecutors alleged the children would often later change their stories to protect their lives. Right. After another court ruling lists alleged abuse or neglect reported to the Arizona Department of Child Safety by Empower. Those court filings also said Rebecca's brothers were forensically interviewed after the 10-year-old's death. She got hit. She got hit, said one of the children. Let's see. She got hit. She got hit a lot, said one of the children. A Navajo County Sheriff's report said Baptiste and Woods did interviews with detectives and both allegedly admitted to using a belt as a form of punishment. Detectives write that Baptiste admitted to using excessive force. In that interview, detectives noted that the couple detailed other instances where Rebecca ran away. One involved Rebecca jumping out of their two-story apartment window. These new court documents said Baptiste and Woods detailed an additional time the 10-year-old ran to a Phoenix gas station. For weeks. Oh, excuse me, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Rebecca ran to a QT and exclaimed that her stepmother was abusing her, hitting her hands and legs, said the court documents. According to the police reports, for weeks, Scripps News Phoenix's investigative team has been requesting records and court documents. On last week, Wednesday, they received two reports from Phoenix police, both describing incidents with the Baptiste family. One, from February 2024, details a scratch on one of Rebecca's brothers. The Baptiste child was described it as an accident involving Woods. The reports say the young child told police that he was scratched while getting on police escort. Let's see. Baptiste child described it as an accident involving Woods. The report stated that the young child told police he was scratched while getting into trouble for not doing his homework. However, the reporting officer stated that the child reported feeling safe at home. While other unrelated DCS history exists for this family, the only other physical abuse was reported on November 2nd, 2023, according to the report. Police note that this is the second similar allegation involving a scratch, following a child's claim that he was in trouble for not cleaning. try to make heads and tails out of why parents would go ahead and start beating, trashing. Oh wow! Excuse me for a moment, guys. Okay, guys, I'm back. Continuing with the article, the report noted that efforts to contact Woods were unsuccessful and a message was not left. Photos were taken of the injury, and the report said DCS history was requested. The report notes that at the time, there were no other Phoenix Police Department reports regarding alleged child abuse involving the Baptiste family. Ultimately, the case was closed. At this time, there is no evidence to support the crime of child abuse occurred, wrote the officer. The other report released detailed alleged behavioral and mental health issues. Let me scroll back up real quick. Honestly, the two monsters on the left side of your screen. Apparently, some judge or other gave them another chance, which pretty much gave them more opportunities to hurt and eventually kill Rebecca Baptiste. Which brings me to the question: why give why give monsters like this a second chance when really and truly they didn't deserve a first chance? Okay, next up. Two people charged in the drowning death of a 13-year-old. Let's see what that brings about. Oh, we're in Marionette, Wisconsin. Two people have been arrested in connection with the drowning death of a 13-year-old boy in Marinette, according to police. Jacob Bowerman died August 23rd, 3 days after police and first responders rescued him from the Menominee River near the government pier. The incident occurred just after 1:30 p.m. on August 20th. A 16-year-old boy and a 21-year-old man were taken into custody on August 25th. Charges have been referred to Marinette County District Attorney for review. He was always so happy, and he just the sweetest boy I've ever met in my whole entire life, said Rhiannon Singer, Bowerman's cousin. Singer said Bowerman couldn't swim. He had a fear of water, and saying the circumstances around his death are suspicious. He had a fear of water and he couldn't swim, so he would not just willingly go out there and jump in the water, Singer said. The family believes the death was a result of bullying. We want justice for Jacob. Justice for any other child that is being bullied. God forbid, we don't want anything like this to ever happen to somebody. No parent should ever have to bury their child, Singer said. An autopsy is scheduled to be conducted on Wednesday, which is today. Police are withholding the names of those arrested as the investigation continues. A candlelight vigil organized by the friends of the family will be held at the pier Wednesday night, tonight. a 16-year-old boy and a 21-year-old man bullying a 13-year-old. From the way they had their cars parked, I couldn't help but laugh at both of these guys. And as for 13-year-old Jacob Bowerman, I pray to God that whoever took his life, I pray that they get the maximum penalty. Another senseless death. Normally I say bullies would likely be the ones you have to watch out for. And I'd probably be right. But in this case, I wanted it to be oh so wrong. Okay. Guys, I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to cut this short, and I'm going to save this for Saturday afternoon because apparently I just can't keep my eyes open. I can't stay focused. I can't stay awake. I'm going to continue this. I'm going to continue this edition for Saturday. So again, I apologize. I thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you Saturday, where I can continue this coverage and a whole lot more. Maybe even lighten things up. That'll be the Saturday bite on Saturday afternoon. So I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna catch me a cat nap, and I'm gonna see you back here. Hopefully my cam will be working as well. So until then, until we do this Saturday, you all know what to do. Bye.
Thank you all for joining me here at the Drama-Free True Crime Destination. Be sure to follow Bethea'S Byte Reloaded all over social media and get your coverage of true crime news with no gimmicks, no drama, and no BS. This is Bethea'S Byte, and it's reloaded.